Welcome and good morning. See, we got a few folks in here today. We're going to be looking this morning at making video, and again, kind of focused around elementary usages. But if you're not elementary, perfectly fine for you to stick with us. This one's going to be kind of co-hosted today with me and Michelle Ford, and she's running kind of chat back channel. So if you have questions or things pop up, once we start showing things up on the screen, it is difficult for the person talking to see what's being discussed in the chat. So she'll kind of run that, and but feel free at any point to pop in, unmute your microphone, and chime in. Just in case you're unfamiliar with using Loom, in the bottom left corner of your screen, you should see two icons. One that looks like a mute my audio microphone and one that says stop video. Those can be used to both turn on and turn off your mic and your video. I think the format's a little different depending on what device, but so far that's been pretty good. Pretty standard no matter what you're on. Before we get started, I don't normally do introductions, particularly for a group this size, but I wanted to check in and see if there was anything pressing, anything that was on your mind that you were like, hey, while we're working today, can we be sure that we do this? Because the intent this morning is to go through 3 different video editing platforms, video creation platforms, and help you get set up with them and actually do some of this morning. But if there was anything on your mind, this is a good chance to jump in and just say, hey, while we're here, if we could, and we'll see what we can do. Okay, well, it looks like we're okay so far. Again, if that changes, let me know. And let's get started. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. One of the things that we've been finding during this time of distance learning or digital learning is that people are trying to make videos, trying to help folks out and get things going for their students, for their classrooms, everything. So that's kind of the focus of this one today. I definitely encourage you to try out some of the things that we're doing. Actually go ahead and install the extensions when we pull things up. Go ahead and actually make a video, remix it. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, and I will certainly just do a few practice ones today as we're working. But the first one that I want to look at is called ScreenCastify. ScreenCastify should have been pushed out to you automatically by Hamilton County if you are signed in up here. You can see I'm looking at a Chrome browser right here. I'm using Google Chrome. That's my default and my favorite. In here, you can see it says it is managed by HCDE. So if that's the case for you and you've got whatever your little icon is, or even if you don't, as long as it has this down here, that means that you are signed in, and Hamilton County has already pushed out this ScreenCastify app right there. So that's the symbol for it, ScreenCastify. And when you click on that, it shows you your screen video recorder. Now, if you're not in, either you're using your personal account or something's going on where you don't have that icon up there, that's not a problem. We can install it manually. So what you'll do, at least for the near future until the Chrome Web Store goes away, we're going to type in Chrome Web Store and click on that. And you can see up here, it's got search the store, and one of those is ScreenCastify. And it's right here. Now mine says rate it because it's already installed. It doesn't say add to Chrome. It just says rate it. But if you do not have it installed, you'll see this instead, add to Chrome. And once you add that, it will go through a couple of permissions, but it'll end up popping up right here in your top corner there in your extension toolbar. Now, it's pretty useful to go ahead and add to Chrome, because what will happen then is as you are doing your work or you're somewhere, maybe I'm on the virtual PD one here, and I want to make a video, I literally can just click that extension and it pops up right here. It's ready to go, right? Now, as we go through these platforms, we'll be talking about pros and cons and what's great and what's not so great. You can see here it says there's a 5-minute limit per video. Now, I have been told multiple times that we are getting the upgrade for the level of service beyond the basic, the freemium. I've gone through and sent in an email to request that as well. And yet, despite that, I have seen no upgrade. So I am still limited to 5 minutes. And I haven't heard of anyone else who's managed to get that upgrade. If there's someone out here in the audience who has, would love to hear from you. But at least for now, that is what you'll start with, especially if you've just installed it. So a few things that you see on this screen. Browser tab, these are just referring to what's going to record. This browser tab means literally right here where it says HCS Virtual PD Google Sheets, it's only going to record that tab. Or desktop means it's going to record everything on my screen. So I can switch to my drive, I can switch to my calendar, I can switch back and forth, and it will record all of those items. So it'll do all of those if I use the desktop. And then webcam only is just, of course, my face. So it'll just get me and nothing on my computer screen. So I almost always default to the desktop. You can choose with your desktop whether you include your webcam or not. If you do, your little face will just pop up in the bottom left down here. It's going to ask you about your microphone, so you'll have to just kind of know what's going on with your computer. Just stick with the default if you're not sure. And then if you look in more options, you've got a few extra tools. I love the fact that ScreenCastify by default gives you drawing tools. I think that's great. The system audio means that if something pops up on my computer like that includes sound, this will allow that to be recorded in my ScreenCastify as well, but this will not. So I find that pretty useful. Sometimes I'll get an email or something will pop up and it'll make a chime or something. I don't want that necessarily recorded. And then the preview just lets you know kind of what's coming up in your webcam. So I usually keep that off, but I know several people that keep that on. I do like the countdown, so that's great to leave on, I think, by default. All right, let me go ahead and just do one. Oh, and there's a few things up here, but we'll come to that a little later. I'm gonna go ahead and hit record. Uh-oh, please, okay, let's try that again. Man, things never go wrong when you're trying stuff live, right? Let's try it again. All right, let's see. So funny because I literally just recorded this morning. And of course, nothing there. I'm going to try one other screen and see if it likes that a little bit better. Oh, and I do want to make sure I don't have anything running in the background. Hey, there's my wife. All right, it doesn't look like I have anything running in the background. If it continues to give issues, we may jump over to Loom and come back to that with Michelle Ford and see. Let's try just a tab. Nope. Failed to access your microphone. Please disable it and restart. All right, so I'll try that and we'll come back to that one. But highly entertaining. All right, well, let's take a look at Loom while we're waiting for me to go through that, and then I'll come back and we'll see if Michelle may switch up on us for that one. So Loom is another ScreenCastify-ish type recording. I've intentionally uninstalled that one today so that we could see what that looks like because it's not pushed out by default for this this user for me and my Hamilton County account. So for this one, I'll go ahead and just like we did before, go to the Chrome Web Store. And in here, I'm going to type in the word Loom, L-O-O-M. Now you can see it's not added, so I'll go ahead and add that to Chrome and add the extension.
So the food isn't even yummy. So that's why the cafeteria.
Okay, so now it's checking. Looks like it's doing okay. Everything has been added to Loom. And I think we're going to be okay. Please don't mind my kids in the background. Like many of us, we're doing this school thing with your own kids as well as students and teachers. All right, so now this is the icon for Loom. Just like ScreenCastify, it will sit up there. If I'm on a page, it will allow you to go ahead and start. Let's just see what happens if we try this one. Down here in the, oops, denied. Okay, so apparently there's something more systematic going on here. It may be because I'm sharing my screen. So although I've done it before live, looks like we are denied access to my camera. So right now what that means is that it's just getting the screen and not my webcam. So I'll pause in a little bit and we'll see if we can reset that. But what we've got right now is we can go ahead and still continue with the screen when it appears. Loom does have a full desktop version, as you can see down here, where you can download it and use a little bit more, get a few more features. But in general, its free version seems to be a little bit more robust than ScreenCastify, but it doesn't have some of the same features. So I've got my mic here. I can't do screen plus cam or cam because right now I'm having an issue with that. So we'll just go ahead and run with the screen only. Right now, it lets me choose whether I just want a specific window, so I can choose from the ones here, or if I want my entire screen. This looks a lot like the desktop versus tab one that we saw before, so I'll just choose the entire screen and go there. We do get our countdown as before, and then here we go, mic. Again, normally this would be where my webcam would show up right here, and I can choose how big I want my picture to be during that time, or just kind of keep it low and out of the way. You can see up here, it's just showing whatever it is, and as I am moving through, my mouse will show up on the screen during the recording. What does not happen, however, is I don't get any drawing tools. Loom, unfortunately, doesn't allow you to get those by default. So if you want something, if you're gonna illustrate or annotate on the screen, you'll wanna have another annotation tool already pulled up. When I'm done, I will just go up to the top and turn that off in my browser by clicking on the extension. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Loom, and it's done with the recording right now. Here's what it looks like, the one that I just did. Right away, it creates a video that I can get a link for. I can choose the sharing settings for that link, whether it's public or only those who have the link can edit it, or can view it rather. And if you want to run it back, you just hit play. That'll let you listen to this 50-second video here. People that come to view this video will be brought into Loom's kind of this window here, this ecosystem. So their view will look pretty much just like this. You can even see in the website address, it is loom.com right there. You are able to add a password, and you can download it, which is going to be important later. So I'm going to actually go ahead and do that now just to make sure I've got this one for later. And again, duplicate or copy that video and share it. We get a few more options here for how to share that. One thing that you probably noticed is no Google Classroom. There's no native embedding straight into your Google Classroom. You can absolutely use the link, however, and copy that link, put that into your Google Classroom. So it's a pretty quick workaround, but it's not native. So that is not by default. As far as if you wanted to edit things a little bit, we can go right here to where it says trim. And the trim feature in here is actually really good. It's, in my opinion, it's better than ScreenCastify's because it will let you cut things out of the middle and not just the front or the back. You hit the start trimming feature and you see we get these red bars, right? And these red bars say anything between these two bars is getting cut out. So I could cut that blurb right here in the middle. Maybe there was that spot where I tried to use something else. I could snip that out and just hit remove. Now, once I do it, it's going to, well, let's just go ahead and do it. So there is that little piece, that red mark has been cut out, and I can demonstrate that by just hitting play on the screen during the recording. What does not happen, doesn't allow you to, so you'll notice it jumped right over that and continued going. But that's not it. I can continue to make more trims, right? I can go through and cut other things. Maybe I don't want that little bit at the end. Just go ahead and trim that out. And then I can come right back here to the beginning and say, hey, I want to trim that out. So it gives you a lot more features. Although I am saying you want to make sure you do those in order. The nice thing that it has here is at any point you can cancel stuff out. You can undo it if you decide you made a mistake. It doesn't make anything permanent while you're in the editing screen. Unlike ScreenCastify, as soon as I make a trim, it replaces the original video. So Loom does give you some more control there. ScreenCastify, once I had made that one in the middle, that's it. It's done. It's overwritten over the original video, and there is no undo to go back and fix that. So, but I'm just going to go back and return to the original with no edits, and that's kind of what Loom looks like right now. By the way, you do get a little bit of feedback here on your viewership. Kind of let you see what that's going on, and here up in your more, just some little tips and things to look at. If you have a library of Loom videos, you can go and look right here at my videos to see them all. But again, it pretty much looks like this. When people click on your link, it will bring them to this screen. So I'd encourage you at this point, if you weren't, we'll take a quick pause for questions, but also for people to try this out if they'd like. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. If you had some folks who were checking that out, go ahead. If you had any questions, this is a good time to pop in and make that known. And if you wanted to try one out and share it with us, would love to see it. So I'm just going to stop talking and read through the chat here for just about 1 minute. And yeah, I see a question from Allison Corbett, and absolutely, you can share it in an email, either copying the link and pasting it into an email, or using it had a Gmail native feature in there. Of course, if you're signed in as your Hamilton County, that's not going to work. But if you're using a personal account, you could use the native Gmail link. But again, copying the link into an email works as well. All right, a little less than 30 seconds left. Did anyone try one? Want to share it with us? While you're thinking about that, I do want to ask, do we have anyone, whether you do it in the chat or shout voice out, anyone who's done any video recording for students or teachers so far and would be interested in sharing what you've done your own recordings for? What have you used them for?
I can speak to that, Arthur. I've made for the parents a video through ScreenCastify showing them how to log on to Google Classroom because I had second graders who had not used it before we went digital.
Okay, very cool. Anyone else?
There's some really cool features on the iPad if you watch Apple Fox videos that teach you how to use just the features without downloading other apps, how to record lessons on your iPad. So you can be pulling up your Google Docs and recording from the iPad while using your voice.
Will you say that one more time from the beginning? I missed just the very beginning portion of what you said there. I think it was something about the iPad.
Okay, so I've been using the iPad, and if you use Apple Fox videos on YouTube, they teach you all these really cool features on how to use the iPad. And so I've been making instructional videos on how to log on for my first grade parents. But what you can do is you use the recording features on the actual iPad. I actually could flip it around and show if anybody's interested.
Yeah, are you on your iPad right now?
Give me just a second and I can be.
Okay.
I gotta figure out how to turn on video on this.
Okay. No problem.
I'm trying to learn all this new technology all at once.
Hey, we're all in the same boat.
So let me see how I can get this real quick. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can see my iPad.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so if you come over here, there's a little button right here that most people don't have on their iPad. You have to change it in your content settings, but once you have it, you hold it down and it brings up recording, and you can click start recording and microphone. So you click on this little red button and you click start. Oh wait, I want microphone on. Hold on, I gotta do that right again. Okay, microphone's on. I'm gonna click start recording. And then it's going to count down and tell me to start recording, and I can go to any of my documents and it will record a video for me. So I like to pull up like my Google Docs or my Google Slides, and I can record on the iPad. So if you're, for all the ladies out there, if you're having a bad hair day, this is way better than being on the video.
Hey, I got my hair on point this morning. I'm great. I'm good.
But yeah, you had to change it in content. I could actually send you the link for the actual YouTube video where the guy, it's called Apple Fox YouTube, and what they do is they demonstrate how to use the features that are already on the iPad versus the features versus downloading apps. So this was a really good feature for me instead of doing the sorry, somebody decided to call in. Instead of doing all these apps, which I'm trying to learn some of the apps, but this was an easy way to do it while I was learning all these apps.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that's really cool, especially for our iPad users out there in the crowd. If you've got an iPad, and I do believe to get that, I recognize that operating system that won't be present if you're using an iPad 2, but definitely for some of the ones that can support the newer versions, that is going to be really useful.
Anybody who can update to iPad 11 or higher can use
Okay.
it. The operating system.
Apple Fox YouTube tutorials is in the chat for everyone. All right, well, Michelle's working on seeing if she can pull up ScreenCastify, but I wanted to take a second and, assuming there was no more comments, I wanted to go ahead and show you some of the power of YouTube as well. So I'm going to switch over to YouTube. Let's see if we can pull this up. All right, so if you're seeing, you should be seeing my screen here. I'm going to go ahead and just type in youtube.com. As Hamilton County employees, we all get a YouTube account, and you can see some things that I've been loving me some PE with Coach Wood. I did not do the toilet paper edition because, you know, who's got time to use up your rolled gold, as they're calling it lately. But in this YouTube account, you can see, for anyone who's familiar, you've got kind of your viewing options on the left. But we're going to focus over here in the top right. You can see I've got my profile here, and it talks about some things, and the channel is where I'm going to spend some of my time today, as well as the YouTube studio. But this button's a really nice one because it just says create a video and more. So I'm going to click on that. You can see upload a video or go live. Two great, powerful features that are going to be useful. If I upload a video and I happen to have downloaded one earlier from Loom, I can pull that video that I had used earlier, the quick sample one, and bring it from my computer to here. So I can do drag and drop or select that. You can see there it is. My HCS Virtual PD was the tab I was using. So it doesn't take too long, depending on the internet speed at your house. You'll go ahead and describe that, what you want to do, and it takes a little while to upload, but you can see it's not doing too bad with this one here. If you have playlists already set up, you're welcome to do that through here, and you can put those into the playlist. I want to take a moment and talk about the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, or just COPPA as most people refer to it. If you go through here and you say, yes, it's made for kids. So what happens is, one, you won't have any comments available on yours. You won't be able to monetize, make any money for it. And you'd better make sure the content is in fact safe for kids. So if they find out, that you're, I don't know, doing crazy stuff on there that's not necessarily kid friendly, then you can have your account flagged or even banned. Now, if you say it's not made for kids, then you get a couple more options. Comments come back as available if you choose to have them on. But if you have no, it's not made for kids, but it is determined that your content seems to be geared toward kids, again, it will be kind of flagged. What they don't want is people making channels that they are quote unquote not made for kids, but they are in actuality targeting children. Because what they have found, that's kind of how YouTube was up until just a little bit ago. And that things were getting slipped in there. Kids were starting to gravitate to channels that were not necessarily aimed at children, but seem to have kids content. And then of course, maybe the host drops the F-bomb or something in the middle there, even though it's not made for kids, but it was definitely seen to have content that was targeting children. All right, so there's all that piece. You can see it's kind of showing here now. The thing about YouTube is it gives you those thumbnails. It usually just requires you to kind of sit there and pause for about 2 or 3 seconds at the beginning, and then it'll make sure that one of your thumbnails will pop up here. Or if you just want to take a picture of something, you can have that as standby. But that's just what shows up. For me, it was just a screen of text, so I don't really care. So I'll go hit next. These are for people who are really wanting to get fancy. You can add an end screen or put some cards to promote some related content during your video. I'm sure if you've watched any YouTube videos and you've seen something and he says, hey, check out my friend over here at, Crazy Teacher channel, that might be a card that pops up here. And then of course some content. So I almost never do any of this stuff, but I do jump over here. And then save or publish. This is just talking about what it's going to look like. Do you want everyone in the world to be able to see? Do I want it unlisted? Just, hey, I'm only going to share this link with certain people, or private, in which case I have to manually add people, just like in Google Drive. You can also schedule these, just like in Classroom, where you can schedule a post to pop up later. You can schedule when you want your video to show up, and it'll let you set that up. So that you can do that. Again, just making sure that I remind, YouTube just reminding you of some things to be aware of. Usually mine are pretty much, I just go straight ahead with it. You can copy that link right here through this button, and then you just hit publish. And just like that, it's pretty much done, right? Video is published, there's my link. I can pop this into a few different mediums right here. Very easy. If you have Google Classroom, you can actually link through Classroom to this if I'm using the same Hamilton County account, or of course, I can copy this right here. So we've got a few choices, and then bam, there we go. There's my video. It is public, and here's some others that we have going on here. Now, while we're in here, I do want to take a quick moment here and take a look at this details one. Let you add some information about your video and do all of this. But the part that I want to take a look at is over here on the left. See here it says the editor. Now in Loom and in ScreenCastify, we get the option to edit video, but you also do that here. I'm now in the video editor, the studio portion of YouTube. And so down here, I've got, my video. This is the most zoomed out view. So I'm seeing the entire thing. There is some really great stuff available on YouTube. If you want to add audio, there's a ton of nice audio tracks that are Creative Commons and no charge. You are welcome to use them, so that's awesome. Down here, you can add some elements like some of your other features that you may want to add. Again, this is kind of getting back into those cards. The blur is useful for when you make some cuts and you want to transition from one part to another. But again, for most of us teachers, we're not going to use any of that. The only part we really care about is this one, the trim. The trim is like, man, that's at the beginning where I was, I don't know, brushing my hair and I didn't notice that I was recording. I want to cut that out, right? So I've got bars here and here, and you can drag that, right? So I can go ahead and work that out. And let's say I just do this. So I'll go ahead and say, okay, great, let's preview that. Right now, only this part is highlighted. So what does that mean? That means I want my picture to be during that time. That's the only part that's available, right? So right now, when you are using the trimming one, that means that I'm gonna discard those changes. When you pull that up, only what's between those two is what's showing. So if I wanted to get rid of the beginning, I would need to, excuse me, that was the end. Get rid of the beginning. I can just move this up. So now this little portion right here, hopefully you're seeing that zoom, this portion right here is no longer going to show up, right? I've gotten rid of the end, and I can get rid of the beginning, and now I can get rid of a portion on the end, okay? So that works. You can also get rid of stuff in the middle, and that's the split button. Let's move this here and here. So if I do want to, let's go ahead and preview. Get rid of the portion in the middle, we should be able to just use the split button. But it is not making itself available for me right now. So we'll have to come back to that one too. But at least with this default, our trim, we're cutting stuff off of the beginning, we're cutting things off of the end very easily, very quickly. And then once you do that, you can just hit save. I'm going to hit preview and then save right here. It says it'll take a few hours for your change to apply. You can still share that video during that time, but it's ready to go. I'm going to take a look and see what the questions were in here. I'm not going to make those changes so this video is around. I will say this though, if you find yourself saying, hey, I didn't like one of the changes that I made, you can go back and change that. Oh, here it is. I hadn't dragged this bar. This is your split bar, which is where you can say, hey, I need to make parts in the middle. So you can see now this is what that looks like. So when you split, now I'm getting the beginning and the end, and this part in the middle I'm losing. So there's your split. I had just forgotten to do that bar. But nothing's permanent, right? The great thing about YouTube is you can go ahead and say, hey, I want to go back and do that. Even after I hit save changes and it processes those, I can come back and undo that. So really cool feature in YouTube, and a lot of power just inside of the default YouTube editor. And this is again for an uploaded video that I used. Okay, I'm going to stop for just a minute here and see what we've got in the way of the questions. I saw quite a few things come up in chat. Did anyone want to just call out and say, hey, what your question was while I'm reading through? I see here one from Charlene. Is the connection to YouTube automatic, or is there a special code or password? Charlene, do you want to elaborate on that a little bit? I'm not sure what you mean.
You made some comment that we have a Hamilton County has automatic YouTube channels.
Yeah,
So
like,
how do you sign into that to create a video?
okay, so what I heard you say was that you were wanting to see about how to connect, well, not connect your Hamilton County YouTube, but to get to that Hamilton County YouTube account.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Let me pull back here. So the short answer is you don't really have to do anything, right? Just by virtue of you being signed in, and again, I'm going to just pull this up. Up here in the top right, I'm signed into Chrome. But even if I wasn't signed into Chrome, if I am just logged in, like I was looking at my Google Drive right here, and my little Hamilton County picture is showing in the top right,
Uh-huh.
I'm looking at my calendar right here, again, my little Hamilton County picture is showing. If I just open up a new tab and type in YouTube, it will automatically keep me logged in, and I will go to, see, there's my picture again.
Yeah.
County one, I'm already logged in to YouTube. If for some reason that wasn't the case, and you were signed out, which I'm not going to do because it's going to sign out all my tabs if I do that. If you were signed out, you would come up here into the, well, I can switch over to a different one. Are you guys seeing this new screen here?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my personal account, so I don't mind signing out of here. If I was signed out on this one, then I could go ahead and sign in again, or let's see if we can even find, let's see what it looks like. Yeah, so right now it's showing that my syncing is paused up here, but I am not signed into this account. So I could go ahead and hit sign in and choose whatever my account is. And then once I get signed in, then when I go to YouTube, see now I'm in, once I go to YouTube, it'll pull up that account that goes with this one, which is my personal account here.
Okay, so basically we've got to be in Google to do this.
Yeah, make sure you are signed in to whatever your Hamilton County Google account is. And if you're not sure about that, you can check with the technical contact.
Thank you.
No problem.
Question.
Sure.
If we'd use the Hamilton County email for our YouTube channel, because I have another one that I was working under my personal email. Does that mean that Hamilton County owns these videos, or does that mean, because I'd like to keep it as my own digital portfolio?
Great question. Yeah, so technically, whenever you, like if you've ever added Outlook or something to your phone or your iPad, since you're an iPad user and you add that Hamilton County account, you may or may not, I know on Android, it pops up the warning. I don't know if it does it in iOS, but essentially whenever you add anything Hamilton County to your personal devices, it says Hamilton County can access it, erase it, do whatever. So the short answer as far as content created is, I'm not sure what our digital rights are around that. My guess, and maybe Monica can jump in on this one, my guess would be that anything you create under that Hamilton County brand ultimately is owned and can be acquired or enforced by Hamilton County, because you are acting as that representative. So that is a good point. And so for a lot of the content, I'm also aware of that, and I do use my personal account depending on what the focus is.
Well, the second question I have,
Arthur, real quick, I just was going to say, I've never seen anything specific about who owns it. However, we know that we are representing Hamilton County through that account. So I would, as Oprah says, if you don't want to see it on the billboard going down the interstate, don't post it. So I would just say be careful and just assume you're representing the county. And, we have all of our ethics and, professionalism standards. So but I don't know anything specific about the ownership.
well, for me, it's just about wanting to keep my digital portfolio. The only thing I've posted is teaching videos. It's just I don't want to lose those if I was to ever leave the county for some reason.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. I've been in 4 different states and 5 different areas, and it's true. It's a painful process. I remember when I first left Georgia, and all of that work that I had associated with my Georgia account was gone. So for those who are kind of looking to the future, it's definitely worth making sure maybe you do a separate account. It's not a difficult thing to create a Google account, and you could run through all your content through there. Do be aware though, YouTube doesn't really have some of the restrictions that come, but your students, for some of the things that they're going to want to do, particularly if it's email related, if you are doing producing content or websites or things that are outside of that hcde.org suffix, then it can be problematic for your kids sometimes to access some of those. Again, if it's just a publicly available website or a YouTube video, you don't have those issues, but just be careful for some of your other content. It can make it tricky.
Can I ask you a second question?
Sure.
I've noticed on some of the apps, and I've been hesitant to use them, it says that they have if you link your Google account to them, they have the right to edit and delete stuff off your Google account. So I haven't used some of those apps because I'm scared of that. And I'm wondering if that's something that's a problem with other apps.
So yeah, you do want to be careful with that. the best protection is to choose reliable actors. Most of those permissions are necessary. For example, the one that I enabled for when ScreenCastify has some Google integration. It'll allow you to share directly to Google Drive. So if for you to do that, you have to give ScreenCastify permission to access Google Drive. You have to give it permission to add files, edit files, and potentially delete files. So those are necessary permissions for it to do the job that it's supposed to do. And Hamilton County has verified and agreed to that. So as I said, that's already natively been pushed out. But yeah, I would just say try to choose reliable actors. If you're not sure, do a little research or find someone who can, who's maybe used it or can help guide you in that one. And the same thing with anything you put on your phone or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to look through the chat, but Michelle, are you okay to show some ScreenCastify action here? Okay, she's nodding her head, and I'm just scrolling back through to see.
Good.
I see one question privately sent to me. How long should your video be in order to put on YouTube? By default, you only get 15 minutes on YouTube, but it's extremely easy to extend that time if you just have to verify your phone number. So if you are in YouTube and you need to go over 15 minutes, you'll need to be able to verify your phone number. So when you go to put in your first video that's like 16 minutes or 17 minutes or 20 minutes, a button will pop up to say, hey, we need you to verify this account. You've gone over your amount. And so that's the only thing that, it's not a lengthy step, but it does just require you to make sure that you are a verified account. And then Loom, it says, how long can you make as a video on Loom? Loom, unlike ScreenCastify, doesn't have a default right there. I have never tried to go over 45 minutes, but it seems like you could just keep going. I also saw that my basic account was upgraded during this this time of coronavirus, so I haven't checked to see what extra features come about due to that. The account you saw me using this morning, I just set up this morning for this testing, and it was it definitely let me go over 5 minutes. So I don't know what the limits are for Loom, but you definitely can go over 5 minutes, maybe 45, maybe an hour. I don't know, but it's more than 5 minutes. And then it says, can you do group videos on ScreenCastify? That one's from Julia Sanderson. Julia, do you want to elaborate what you mean by that? And she may have stepped away from her computer here. Julia, if you're still there, you're on mute right now, so we can't hear you.
So what I meant by that, I just meant like a group of people put in different places. So like maybe planning a YouTube kind of thing and making a video with you guys understand. So you're like all in the video, but like split the screen of it. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, Julia, I was having a really hard time understanding you. Michelle, were you able to understand what you were saying?
I think it's the same as what Jennifer asked, but it's where they can make a group video, but they're each in a different place. So like right now we're all home in separate places. Can we make a video together, even though we're home in separate places?
I would say the short answer to that is no. You can make a video at your location, and someone can make a video at their location. If you were all able to, I guess, log into something like Zoom, what we're in now, and record together, I guess that could be one, but it might be easier to just use Zoom, this platform, and click record itself. That it would seem like that would be a little easier way to do that. But certainly you could have multiple people record multiple videos, and then you use some type of editor to stitch them all together. But the short answer is, as far as built inside of Loom or ScreenCastify, no, there's not a group video feature like that. Kind of like splitting the screen. Yeah, no, that's not. I think I understand what you're going with that. I would say no, that's not going to be the case. However, Zoom, this one, would let you do something like that. And I think I think that's all the questions that I see from the previous one. So yeah, and she says Zoom is what we've been using. Sure. Okay, I'm gonna shut my mic down here. Michelle, did you want to go ahead and jump in on the ScreenCastify side?
Okay, let me share my screen. So let's see if it works for me. Maybe. Yep. So once you get into Scream, he already went through all of the features before, but then in here, so when I want to hit record, let's see. See, it's doing the same thing it did for you.
I think it's because we're actually using the camera now at the same time while we're trying to demonstrate this. Again, we did
yesterday it let me do
before, and
it.
it's fine, and so, but I'm not sure what's going on today. So
Let's see. What if I don't do my webcam? Let's see. Yeah, so it'll let me do it if I don't use my webcam. So you see that where you heard beep beep ding, that was the countdown to tell me when I'm starting, and so now I'm recording and it's counting down here. Now when your webcam is enabled, your picture will be here so you can see what you look like on the screen. Some people that flips them out so you turn the webcam off and you don't have to see yourself. And then you can model. So for example, when I wanted to teach my parents how to log on to Google Classroom, I made a video through here and I showed them starting from my home screen, getting onto Google Chrome, telling them yes, Chrome is the best for this, and then showing them how to come down here and to log into another account. As you can see, I have my Hamilton County account and then my personal account, and then I have my personal child and then one of my students from my class so that I can see their end, but I could just add another account by clicking here. So I just walk them through, and so it's recording everything that I do, and then when I'm ready to be finished, you can pause it if you want to pause and then stop, but then when you're finished you can hit stop, and then this screen will appear for you to edit what you've done. So just like in Loom, you can edit anything by cutting it at the beginning or the end from your video, and then you can play the video when you're finished. Arthur, do I need to add anything to that?
no, that's great. I just typed into the chat. Please note in ScreenCastify, you can only trim the beginning and end. You cannot cut things out of the middle using ScreenCastify. And if you try, you'll end up cutting like your whole video. So hit your sit, and there's the other place. Will you show that? Okay. Well, in any case, when she went to trim that, it said this replaces your original video. So all again, like with Loom and YouTube, where you get a chance to kind of have a do-over and a go back. Once she's done this, she cannot go back to that original video that she recorded.
Now you can save your original video and then open it again and trim it, and then it will save the trims. It won't save it to your original video. And then you would have two of the same videos, one the full and then one that's trimmed.
Can you show some of what you've got over on your right-hand side with the, hopefully you're trimming your video image will go away, but some of one of those features are over on the right?
Okay, so over here you can get a shareable link. So once you have the video, you can get the link, and then you can go over to your Google, or I can just put it in a doc, or however I want to share. Ooh, I didn't want to make a doc. I wanted a doc. So if I get the shareable link, then I can just cut and copy it here. So you can put that in an email, or if you post that link on your school webpage for everybody to see, however, wherever you want to post the link, that's possible. If you want to share it directly to Google Classroom, then you would click here. It's going to let you pick your Google Classroom. So share to Google Classroom, it's going to let me choose which class I want to share it to. So I'd pick any of the classes that I want to share it. I'm not going to do that though. Publish to YouTube. So if I click here, I would have to add a YouTube channel. I don't use YouTube too often, so I probably would have to create all of this, and I could, I guess, use my Hamilton County email. And then I'm not sure about the embedded code. Arthur, do you want to speak to that?
So embed code, you were talking about websites. If I wanted to make this video show up, like display inside of my website, so people don't have to click on it and go somewhere else, then I could embed that right into the HTML of my website.
Okay, that makes sense. And then you can download the video and save it on your desktop.
Hey, do you mind clicking your more options one right underneath that embed code?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, the QR code one is kind of fancy too. That's a nice one for your kiddos. You want them to watch a video, but you've got some QR codes kind of spread around the room. Of course, you can take any video and make a QR code for it, but it's just really cool. I love this fact that ScreenCastify, while it has some things that I don't really appreciate, man, the stuff that it's got kind of baked in is really good. And Michelle, is this your personal account or your Hamilton County one?
This one, I think, is my Hamilton County one.
Okay, it looked like it might have been, what's that one on the top right? Is that?
That's my Hamilton County.
Okay. On mine, on ScreenCastify, I've got drawing tools available too when I go into here. So that helps me when I'm making my video. I can go ahead and show those when I'm doing the video. It'll let me circle something or highlight when I click on something, all of that kind of stuff. So, but I do think the native features, especially their integration with YouTube and Classroom and all of that inside of ScreenCastify, are really good. Now, if Michelle was to go and click on the Open in Editor up in the top right, or well, on my screen it's top right. I don't know if it's top right for her. It will make her try to buy something. Let's see what we've got. Let's see if it's got yours. Yeah, start the free trial. So you get more editing features, but they come at a price. So the only price I really want to pay as a teacher is free. So I don't really use any of those editing features. So as far as editing goes, you only get to cut the beginning and the end for free.
Yes, and I know like the QR code, a lot of the teachers, like in the classroom, they would record like a book, and then when the students got to like a listening station, this would be obviously for some of the younger students, they could pick the book that they wanted, and in the bag it would have the QR code, and they could use the iPad to scan it, and then it could read the story to them, and then it could pop up. You can like add a link where it had questions in their Google folder. So it maybe would read the story to them, and then you would have a link to their Google Classroom with questions, or you can just make it like a story where it's read aloud to them. Might be a little different now that they're at home, because you can just share the video without the QR code.
Okay, so we're near to the end of our time here, but we do have an opportunity to kind of stop and take a look. If you guys made something today and you're like, oh, I'm not sure how to fix this or edit this or get this posted, now's a good time for that. I can also show the YouTube Live feature if you're interested in the last couple of minutes that we've got here. So what are you thinking, peoples?
For the Loom seems simpler to use. ScreenCastify seems to have a lot more tools. Which one would you recommend for somebody who's, I'm okay on tech, but I'm still figuring some of the stuff out. And I'm using, this would be for first graders.
Well, the first thing that my initial thought is, now there's a lot of great research that says you really shouldn't be talking in a video more than 5 minutes probably anyway, because most YouTube videos seem to say the analytics show 4 minutes, people click away and go do something else. But if you need to go over 5 minutes, ScreenCastify gives you a problem right away, right? So for me, that's kind of a no brainer. I have to go Loom, or I have to use something like what we're doing now with Zoom. And I will mention this. This is not something that I hadn't necessarily anticipated, but when you go to your share screen feature on Zoom, there is a whiteboard feature as well, which is great. I've pulled up the whiteboard now. Hopefully you're seeing that. But this is a great video making tool as well if you're using Zoom, even when, all things get back to normal and maybe Zoom's super nice features are gone, you still get the whiteboard. And right here in the whiteboard, I've got my text where I can work with my students right here. I can draw if I need to use one of the drawing tools. And maybe I'm like, hey guys, we need, 4+. I have a touch screen, fortunately, so that helps. Maybe we want to talk about shapes and or some high school geometry. Whatever, you have those features embedded here. I can record this. This is all being recorded, and I can share that right through here. Now, when you do record a video in Zoom, you do need to use another third party to help get that video out to someone else. So I could download this video and put it in Google Drive and share it with kids through Classroom, or I could upload it to YouTube and share it with kids through there, which would be my recommended way of doing that. But yeah, there's a lot of great tools right here baked into Zoom as well.
How are these features, like not just Zoom, but like Loom, working on the iPad? Because I found it easier to be able to write on an iPad versus since I don't have a really good touch screen with our work computer, but the county's iPads work pretty well with a pen to teach with.
I've seen most anything that has an app seems to work very well with Apple. Now, if you're just trying to do stuff within a browser, I don't know what that's going to look like. So, and honestly, I've never tried Loom on the iPad, so I don't know what that would look like. So that would be interesting to try that out and maybe let us know what that looks like.
Okay.
Just double checking the chat. Charlene says, give me some time to digest. There you go. Yeah. And I will say, if you have any questions, I'm putting my email address here in the chat. You can certainly look me up, Arthur Williams as well. Jennifer says, somewhat unrelated question. For those working with primary, what platform are you using to get assignments to students? Yeah, I wouldn't mind hearing the answer to that either.
Oh, I can answer that.
So go ahead.
For primary, we are using Facebook, and I'm using Dojo. But what I've done is I've made a daily agenda. I can actually show it to you. But I've made a daily agenda for my kids with hyperlinks on a Google Doc for all of my students. And I put it in a Word doc so I can attach it to Facebook. So I'm doing a Facebook communication and a class Dojo because most of my parents know how to use Facebook. I can share my file that I did today on this chat if that's okay.
Yeah, if you can post a link, that'd be great before we have to go. Michelle, you had something too. I know you're doing like second grade, I think.
Yeah, so at our school, 1st through 5th grade is using Class Dojo. I'm 2nd grade. The kids have really just grasp it and run with it. Our 1st graders, it took them a little while, but I'm a teacher at the school that my children attend, so I know a lot of the parents. And so a lot of our 1st grade students I see on Facebook, like the parents taking videos of their kids getting in Google Classroom. So they kind of took it and ran with it. And then kindergarten, my son is in kindergarten, and that team is using Dojo Portfolio. So there's a portfolio feature on Dojo where you can actually post the assignments. And when they click on it, it gives them 4 ways to submit the assignment. So actually, he just brought me his iPad because he's about to have his chat with his teacher. So he needed to get logged in. So when he, oh, you can't see my screen. Oh, you can see, maybe a little bit. So when he goes into his portfolio, this is logged in as the student, not as the parent. It has this little thing, and so it has his assignments for today. And so see, he would click on his assignments, and it would start, when he clicks start to do it, it gives him the option to take a picture. Or down here, it gives them the option to make a journal entry, which is just like a screen where he can paint on it with a pencil. He can type on it with, like, he can make it type, he can do all of those things. The other options, trash, we don't want to turn that in. So then it also has two other options, a video option, a photo option, or just a straight drawing option. So then they can submit the work through there. And I will tell you, I just write every day what he's supposed to do, and he can submit his work himself because he knows how to use the iPad.
I love the dojo portfolios for my
Yeah.
first graders. It's great.
Monica Spillman does pre-K. How are you getting in contact with your families?
There.
Yeah, Monica may have stepped. Oh, there she goes.
So what I've done is I am using Google Voice and sending messages that way. So I've created like a Google form to check in with them. And so also for assignments, I've given them the paper option or an online option. So if they're online, they can go to our pre-K webpage. And I made a bit.ly link, bit.ly/Lakeside Pre-K, all lowercase. So they can go there and get the assignments and any supportive documents and extra activities and apps and all that stuff. And then if they need a paper copy, I'm emailing that to the school and they'll have a few paper copies available. And so the way they quote unquote turn things in is either by sending me a picture through Google Voice or email. I tried Dojo, but I think it was just too hard of a stretch for pre-K. So maybe next year they will get on board with that if a teacher wants to use it.
Now, I know you've spoken with our school a little bit about Google Voice, but when you say that you're using voice to reach your families, is that sending out like a phone message, or is that sending out some type of an email? How does Google Voice get out to your families?
On their end, it looks just like a text message. So it's sending straight to their phone. But on my end, what it does is it can either come from an email or a text message, but it's all through the app, and it's also like a web platform. So it's not actually using my phone number. It has a unique phone number that is only for the Google Voice account, but I can still use my phone. So I get the notifications on my phone. Just a note, if you're logged into your Hamilton County account on Google, like in Chrome, and if you decide you want to log into Google Voice, it won't let you. You have to log out or go to another window and log into your not Hamilton County Google account. I guess we block it, but it's very useful for us because they didn't have to sign up for anything. That's the thing. It's like zero entry level. If I have your number, you're in. So that was my way of getting around, people that don't want to sign up for something, because whenever I get them to sign up, it's usually just like 10 people out of the 20 that will do something. And to me, that's not good enough. So.
Well, sounds like your next PD right there. So, all right, guys. Well, we're at the end. We're actually a little over. So thank you guys for tuning in. And this will be available in the HCS virtual PD session. It'll be this recording. If you want to come back and listen to it or walk through it, you can do that later on. So thanks again. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions.